Martin, and welcome to another great edition for Astronomy for Beginners, and welcome to part 3 on DSLR cooling modification. We're going to show how it performs outside, look at the results in the images, and able to compare the results, and also to demonstrate the massive improvements to the modification. Okay, so again, if you've not seen part 1 or part 2, please check those videos out. Okay, this will show you how to make this project. Okay, and again, if you like the video, please hit the like button. Again, please subscribe onto my channel. We'll keep you updated to the latest videos coming out very soon. Alright, showing your support to us. And so again, what we're going to do now is take a closer look on part 3. So we'll take a closer look on the latest modifications that I've done to the DSLR cooling box. And first off, we're going to kick off is this. Now this is a AC DC adapter. It's from JOYLIT, and it's powered by 100 watts. Okay, 100 watt to 240 watt, and it converts it to DC. It's 12 volts, and it's a 8 amp power supply unit. It consists of a jack plug, which is a 2.1mm by 5.5mm jack plug, which powers this entire system to 96 watts of power. It has a 1.2 meter long cable, alright, and it will convert AC to DC power. Okay, now the reason why I got this is with the standard use of my cigarette adapter through my power tank, the 5 amp supply wasn't enough to power the Peltier cooling system. Now this cooling system can be powered up to 6 amps of power, but ideally with this cooling system I can exceed that amount of power up to 10 amps of power. So I found that the 8 amp gives more than enough power to squeeze as much current as possible so that my cooling system will work very effectively. Now the reason why I got the 8 amp is I have tried it with a 10 amp power supply, but I found out that it's not much difference between the two. And plus the 8 amp, it will give out enough power and it will not blow out any of the electrics, particularly the Peltier cooling system. Alright, so the 8 amp is very safe to use. However, using AC supply, I must tell you now that when you're using anything outdoors with this kind of arrangement, alright, I will show you a few tips on using AC supply. Okay, so I will demonstrate that further on the video. So I found out that this works out a lot better to use AC supply than just a normal DC supply, and you'll see the cooling effect increase very dramatically using this power supply unit. So that is one improvement already. Okay, and I'll show you that through the later on in the video. So taking a closer look on the improvements. Alright, there's not much on the box itself. However, what I have done is, if you take a closer look here, I've installed a metric 6 Allen bolt, which is 100mm long. Alright, you can get this for not much money. Okay, and I've installed these IMORDEN Light counterweights. Now these are 100 grams each. Alright, so there's 400 grams on this side. Alright, and the reason for this is because of this Peltier refrigeration system is very big, alright, and that weighs around about 400 grams in itself. I just needed something to counterbalance, so when I put this DSLR cooling box, alright, it's there to just counterbalance the extra weight on the side. Unfortunately, I didn't want to add too much weight to the system, but I had problems with my balancing issues with installing this cooling box. Alright, and I had one side, I had loads of balancing problems with my imaging telescope setup. Alright, so that's the reason why I've improvised by installing this DSLR counterweight system. Now these cost not much money. Alright, you get a set of two of 100 grams each of £15, and if you get another set, it costs you around about £30 for these little counterweights. Alright, these are perfect. Alright, and I've just got perfect balance to counteract with the cooling system itself. So it's something to look into. However, alternatively, if you do not want to install one of these, it's up to you. You can, in theory, to double the power of your cooling system, you could, in a way, install another Peltier cooling system on this side, for example. So you could use one of these on the other side. However, the only drama with that is you won't be able to install an external fan, okay, if you do that. You just need to bridge the same wires. It's the same wiring circuit, but you're going to have a lot more wires to feed through. So alternatively, if you want to double the power of this cooling system, then be it. However, it's to be honest with you, I find that one cooling system is more than adequate, okay, and it does perform quite well. Alright, with just the one system alone. So I didn't feel any real need to improvise that. So yeah, you can get these counterweight systems. Alright, I have installed some wing nuts. Alright, it's just simply drilled straight through the plate and through the box, and it's held in with a nut, alright, and washer. Alright, so that's tightened up, and it has a few wing nuts, okay, if you want to adjust the counterweights, okay, either way. So I adjust each one to counterbalance it. Alright, but at this setting here with the actual long bolt of 100mm, it's more than adequate, and I've achieved good balance there at this point. So very handy little feature there, a small counterbalance system which will help improve on the balancing of your telescope. Also, the other improvement is this. I've installed on this top lid, as well as putting the thermal sheeting to insulate the outer cover. I've cut that out, and also I've installed this part here. I've cut a little piece out, because what was happening is when I was clamping this lid together, it was touching the buttons on the side here, and it was actually switching off the LCD display screen. So I had to cut off a little piece off there to just eliminate that. Also, you'll find there is, at these points here, these are aluminium, and these are computer case metric free 12mm thread thumb screws. Alright, and these cost around about a couple of quid. Alright, the links are all below there to order all these parts. And again, what I've done is I've used some locking washers. Now these are metric free locking washers, alright, and they're just tiny like washers. What I've done is I've just clamped them on there. Alright, I squashed the washers slightly, and the reason for that is to grip into the metric thread. Alright, so then now I can rotate these Knurled knobs, okay, alright, and they're not going to drop off. And the reasons for that is I can, once I've installed it onto the camera, I can just quickly just line up the actual lid itself, tighten them up, alright, and then that's installed. Very, very easy, okay, as you can see, comes off very quickly. So again, the links are below for them, alright, you check them out, the links are below for that if you want to order those parts. The other improvement is this, is with the desiccant thing, I have these little test tubes. These are 60mm long test tubes, alright, and this is filled with desiccant. Again, once I installed the camera in here, I placed the desiccant inside the box, okay, alright, and it's out of the way, they're very slim, and what I've done is, you can see here, I've drilled a few 2mm holes all the way around this little test tube. Alright, they cost a couple of quid for a set of 12 of these. I found them very useful because they're very streamlined. I can install 1 or 2 of these, alright, and they can be tucked away in between the camera, alright, and they're not going to be in the way. And these desiccant caps are filled with this Barda desiccant, which is this silica gel. Alright, with the silica gel here, I can fill these up, alright, and what it does is it will eliminate a lot of the moisture, alright, and it will draw out all the moisture from the electronics and the Peltier cooling system. So it'll basically just dry them out, okay, effectively, alright, and it's not going to trap any moisture. So that's the other improvement. So the next part you're going to need is a sheet of 99.9% pure copper. This is 100mm square sheet, and this is 0.2mm thick, really thin. This is less than 1mm. And what this is going to be is it's going to fit behind my back plate of my DSLR camera. Okay, similar setup before from my last cooling modification. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this down to 75mm using some tin snips, and I'm going to bend this around, right, to form a little L bracket, and that's what I'm going to do. Okay, so I'm going to cut this down. So what I've done, got my pure copper plate, and I measured 75mm across, okay, and I'm going to cut that using some tin snips. These are the ones you're going to need, alright, and as I cut it, okay, I'll cut it in down to shape, okay, so nice and slowly, alright, using a set of tin snip. Okay, that's my sheet cut out, okay, which now enables me to place my plate like so, put my screen, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bend this like so, pushing the screen in, okay, and then once you've got it so it clips in at the back, so once it's bent in, okay, you can just see here the screen click, hold it down, and then rebend it all the way around like so. Okay, right, and then what we're going to do is we're going to fit it into the box, okay, and we're going to mark out the hole to lay clamp in there. So we've got a plate in. We had to screw the photo reducer, okay, and the camera together. So what we're going to do, use a pen and mark out the hole, alright, of that plate. Okay, just a rough marking all the way around. Alright, and you're going to drill that position using a drill bit or a 6mm drill bit. Okay, that's what you're going to do now. So after drilling the hole, okay, I use the needle file to just get a file down just a little bit more, because if you use a 6mm or above, it gets a bit tricky in cutting the thin sheet. So what I did is use a little file, needle file, and just quickly just file it down nice and steadily. The next one is here's the plate I made earlier as I described. Alright, this will clip onto the back of the camera. Alright, as you can see from the last clip, is I installed thermal paste. However, I found that very messy, and it could dirty your camera and your actual box itself. So later on, the product did arrive, and I have the thermal adhesive tape. Again, the tape is double backing adhesive. Alright, I cut it into size, and as you can see there's adhesive tape there. Alright, and it's a lot cleaner, it's not a lot less messier. All I do is just cut them out, stick one side, peel off the backing for the other, and then there you go, there's your thermal contact or the plate. So what we do is we're going to install the camera. I'm going to show you a few more improvements along the way. So again, we get our modified DSLR camera. First off, we're going to flip over the back cover. Alright, we're going to take off the photo reducer, like so, and we put it to one side. Here is the plate we just made earlier of this 0.2 copper. Alright, I'm going to install it at the back there. Alright, we're going to flip the screen round and we're going to clamp it on there. As you can see, it is a tight fit, but we want it to be a nice tight fit, but also to fit perfectly. So then we're going to install our temperature sensor, alright, inside the box, so inside the camera, with our AC adapter. In it goes. Can be a bit cumbersome, so we just take off the plate, install our sensor in the back in there, alright, through there. Okay, so that's our sensor and our power adapter. Our quick release cable is already installed. We'll put in the external plate, clip the LCD screen, and we're going to now clamp over our plate, line the plate up like so. And then we're going to line up. So now we have our one side lining up. We put our photo reducer, we screw that in. So now that is now locked in place. We're then going to put in our 1.25 inch. Alright, line it up. So we've got 1.25 inch thread, bolt, we lock it in with Allen bolt. Okay, that's installed. We then clip in our power sources into the box with these lugs, and our quick release in there. Alright, so they're nice and flush. So that's the external plate in there, and this will provide the extra cooling, alright, to the back of the sensor. Alright, so that's the additional cooling plate that will provide a little bit more cooling. Also, I have improvised a little plate using the 0.2mm thick, and I've cut a strip out. Now the good thing I did notice is I can still leave the actual screen out, alright, and I can place this in between, like so, between the back, and as you can see here, I can feed it underneath between a gap, a small gap between the screen. Alright, so it gives me an additional plate, cooling plate, and I can just slide that across towards the back plate here of the Peltier cooling system there. Alright, so that gives me some more cooling, somewhere to get the cooling in the back of the sensor. Alright, so that's all locked in place. Alright, so that's the additional cooling plates installed. So then what we do is then we install our modified lid, like so. I've noticed that sometimes there can be a leakage. So the other improvement on this lid is, if you take a closer look, I've installed an O-ring. Now this is quite a long O-ring, alright, this is a 2mm thick O-ring, and I've just made a seal all the way around the lid itself. Alright, this can be made from an O-ring kit, alright, which I'll provide the link for there. Alright, and I just use a little bit of this O-ring glue, alright, just to seal off the edge, and then once I cut a strip out and I glued it together, alright, I've got this little O-ring seal. Alright, that will help to keep the cold heat in and making sure that the cooling is very effective. So that's something I also need to highlight. Alright, so I've installed this little O-ring all the way around the lid. So as we install it here, I'll have a perfect seal along the case. So, and it's quite easy, it fits nice and snugly along the case as you do it bit by bit. Okay, that's all installed. Alright, so that's my lid ready to go. Now the other thing I need to show you is, you think that the box is all sealed up. One thing I've noticed around the edge of here, okay, as you can see, between the photo juicer, there is a little bit of a gap where the heat can escape. So I found to improve the cooling is I got myself a 45mm diameter O-ring. This is around about 2 to 3 mil thick O-ring itself, alright, and I find out that it's easy to strap this O-ring, and it can be very difficult to install. Alright, and you just wrap this O-ring around, okay, clip it in so, okay, it takes some bit of force, but once you get it over the photo juicer, like so, okay, just feed it around, and then as you can see, the O-ring will then push it across, and it will, as you can see there now, it's now gripped, sealed up in between the gap, and it will then keep and stop any of the cold heat from escaping. So what that's doing is that's forming a nice tight seal, alright, and also it's there to keep the cold in, and also it will help to reduce vibrations as well between the optical train. So all this has a use, alright, to help improve on the DSLR cooling box. So that's all the improvements I've made on this cooling box, on this DSLR cooling box. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're going to take it outside and we're going to test it out and prove to you guys and girls on how effective this cooling system is. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take a closer look from here. So I'm outside, I've got my Ioptron Smart EQ mount with my trusty 66mm ED refractor from Alto Astro, and I have got my cooling boxes installed, and as you can see with this mount I'm literally up to the maximum limit. Okay, now the reason why I've done this is to prove to you guys and girls that this setup here, the DSLR cooling box, is only suitable for heavier mounts. Now a mount like this that's capable of carrying 5 kilogram payload, I'm literally up to the limits with this. I'm literally, I think I'm just over 5 kilograms. The Ioptron Smart EQ mount, as you got here, this might be a bit too much. What I've done is that in theory I would never ever image with a smaller mount with a heavier setup like this. Okay, I would use a minimum of an EQ5 or over to use this kind of setup. Because of the weight, the main thing about imaging is you need to be within 70% of the payload. That is the ideal recommendation for imaging. Too much weight will cause tracking errors, and then you'll see it in results with your images. So with the long exposure, if I was trying to use this telescope setup, I'm not going to get decent tracking, and it may affect your go-to capabilities. So that's the reason why I've shown you this, is that the DSLR cooling modification is only suitable for heavier mounts. So an EQ5 or more is more than adequate. Right, and that's the reason why I've done this. is to prove to you guys and girls that this modification is not ideally suited for this kind of setup. So what I do is I use the other one. If you would please refer to my last video guide on the 600D DSLR cooling modification. Okay, if you've got the 600D, you can adopt a cooling system for that. Now, as you see here, I have power coming from my house. I'm using an outdoor power cable. Now, because of this system, you can use batteries, okay, leisure batteries, and my 40 amp leisure battery can power this system up. The main problem though about that is it can only draw out around about 6 amps maximum, but during using that power load I may be able to use it for a few hours and then the battery starts to discharge and die. So because of the Peltier cooling system draws out a lot of power, alright, so here I use my power cable, okay, and here is my power adapter. Alright, have you noticed here I'm trying to minimize the risk of getting electrocuted, so my power pack is mounted on the tripod. It's very crucial that you do that, okay. The only power connection is that the plug is connected to the power adapter. As you can see here, risk of electrocuting yourself. Again, take special precautions because the ground's very wet. You don't want to be running AC power running through and chances you getting electrical shocks. So take special precautions, okay. So by doing this, all you're doing is preventing water from getting into this power pack, okay. So with the power plug there, I place my power plug. Okay, that's now secured. Alright, that you can mount, that's okay. Alright, as long as the plug, okay, is away off the ground, okay, as you can see there. So now all my power is all connected up. Alright, my power pack's there, alright, including the back lead, alright, very crucial you get that squared. You can now safely run off your power now using the AC, because obviously the power adapter here will convert it to DC and it'll give me the 10 amps power or 8 amps power I need to rapidly cool this cooling box. As you can see here, my ambient temperature is very warm outside. Obviously today is 21.8 degrees. What we're going to do is going to show you a test I'm going to carry out. Is we're checking the performance of the cooling on our camera. Top tip, when you're doing the initial cooling, don't switch the camera on. What you're trying to do is you want to cool down the camera body first, right? You want to cool it down as much as possible. So what we're going to do is, by doing that, is we're going to give it, we're timing it and see how low this cooling goes, okay? So you want to initially cool the DSLR cooling box first before you start taking pictures. So what it does, it cools down the camera inside, right? This will get quite cold at night. During the day, it might not. Okay, it will cool it down, but it just depends on your ambient temperature. As you can see, temperature changes rapidly around here. So at night, the cooling will be a lot more efficient, okay, because it's a lot cooler during the night, alright, and this might freeze up, so don't worry about that. So what we're going to do is we're going to take out the cover first, okay, as you can see there, we can click on the power. Again, I'm using external power through my power tank, as you can see there. So I've got my external power using my power tank. This is going to power my camera, and it's already on, switched on. I've got my exposure set on. What we're going to do is we're going to check the temperature. Right, as you can see now, our camera temperature is building up. The internal temperature at the moment is 22 degrees. So what we're going to do is we're going to wait 5 minutes and we'll come back and check the temperature of the camera again. Now, as you can see now, we've just waited 5 minutes and the camera internal temperature on the sensor is 29 degrees. Within 5 minutes it's already reached almost 30 degrees. So it just shows you how hot the DSLR camera can get. Now this is during the day. You may get different temperatures at night, okay, because it's a lot cooler, but it just shows you how hot this camera can get. And that's why we have to cool down the camera to eliminate all these hot pixels within your images. Okay, you still got to take darks no matter what, but what this is going to do is going to give you a bit more refined image if you can cool the camera down. As you can see there, 29 degrees, that's how much it's built up in 5 minutes. So what we're going to do is we're going to begin the cooling. First off, we're going to switch off the camera, and you're going to put on the lid before we do the cooling. So we've got the lid back on. Okay, it's all tightened up. Camera's now switched off. What we're going to do is check the ambient temperature, 23.9, so it's getting hotter. So we put on our power cable. The cooling is now commenced. We start the timer. Okay, and we begin our hours cooling. At the moment we're at 17.9 degrees, and as you can see, just start. It will kick in. It will kick in sooner or later. Right, it's now beginning its cooling. Right, so we're timing this. This will take some time. Now, yeah, it's dropping. Now dropping. Now, don't forget, this is during the day. As you can see, 24 degrees, and it will take some time. Now, during the night, when it's cooler, the cooling will be a lot more effective. So it's cooling that DSLR down, and it's already dropping within a minute and 30 seconds. So yeah, so what we're going to do is we're going to time through. It's almost reaching 17 degrees in less than 2 minutes. So what we do is we're going to keep checking the timings, see how far it's dropped. So now we're going to 5 minutes. There's 5 minutes. Ambient temperature is 25 degrees, and the cooling now has dropped down to 14.4. So very impressive drop there. Okay, and it's still dropping within 5 minutes. What a result already. So what we do now, check again, 10 minutes. So we're now reaching 10 minutes. Yeah, 10 minutes is down. Still 25 degrees. And as you can see there, we've now just dropped into the 11.7 degrees. So what a difference that's made. Okay, so So we'll do now is test it for 15 minutes. So we now hit 15 minutes. Temperature is 25 degrees, 0.2. And the cooling has reached 10.2. Okay. So quite impressive so far. It's now dropped to 10.1. So cooling is really good on this. I'm really impressed. So that's doing really well, that, the cooling. Massive drop there. Now to 10 degrees. Soon we'll be in single figures, hopefully. Really impressed on the performance. So what we're going to do now, we're going to test it out in 20 minutes. So with the cloud cover covering the sun, it's starting to become a lot cooler. So there's a drop in temperature. So what we're going to do is check the time. So it's 20 minutes already. Oh, the sun's just coming out. It just shows you how much the temperature drops. Alright, so the cloud cover has dropped it to 19.2. And we're going to check the cooling. Okay, 8.4. So that's how much it's dropped. Quite impressed how much it's changed with the camera. So 8.3. No change on the screen. Nothing's frosting up. I don't think it would have frosted up because it's relatively warm out here. Okay, so it's at 8.2, 19.3. It's not going up because now the sun's coming out. So again, this is just to prove a point that the cooling is working, even despite with all the temperature changes around. Alright, that's going to go warm up now because the sun's out and the cloud cover's dissipated. So we might get to see, yeah, the temperature is increasing quite rapidly now. So now what we're going to do is we're going to check again in 25 minutes. So now at 21 degrees, check the time. Okay, 25 minutes, it's just passed. Okay, 21.1, and the cooling is starting to slow down at 7.3. In 25 minutes, that's dropped quite considerably. But the cooling has remained the same. Okay, starting to slow down. Alright, so we are reaching to its maximum here, I reckon. So what we're going to do now, we're going to test it out in 30 minutes and see what results we get next. So reaching 30 minutes, obviously the sun has come out from the clouds and it's gone up to 24.5. Checking on the cooling itself, okay, it's starting to peak out 6.8, yeah, 6.8, starting to struggle, okay, reaching its limit. So far the case hasn't dewed up, so there's no condensation. So now what we're going to do is we're going to leave it for another 30 minutes and then we're going to check the cooling again, see how it performs. So we've now reached an hour. The clouds have gone down and it's gone cooler to 21.5. Okay, so an hour's passed and we're going to check. Oh wow, it's reached 4.1. I'm really impressed with that. It's reached, that's amazing. Okay, variations have been, right, it's now 4 degrees. After an hour and cooling is maintained, I'm really impressed with the results so far. Is we're going to, it's now reached 3.9. So now what we're going to do is we're going to open up the case, switch on the camera, and we're going to check the sensor to see how much it's cooled down. So what we're going to do now is we're going to check it on the camera itself. So as you can see now, with the cover off, we switched on the camera, and you can see it's now cooled the internal temperature to 11 degrees. So it has dropped the camera, the actual sensor temperature down quite efficiently. So now what we're going to do is we're going to quickly put the lid back on, okay, and then we're going to check to see if it's maintained that temperature. So now we've got the cover back on. Alright, we've lost a bit of heat, so it's warmed up to 16 degrees. So now what we're going to do is we're going to wait an hour and we're just going to confirm if it holds that temperature down. Okay, the main purpose of this cooling box is to ensure that your DSLR cooling modification cools down the sensor. So as long as we keep it cool at that ideal sensor temperature there, okay, we should get some good noise levels controlled there. So now what we're going to do is we're going to wait for another hour, and we're just going to check, see if it's warmed up and see if it's maintained the actual temperature itself. Okay, so we're going to wait an hour, come back. In fact, we're going to check 30 minutes. Check 30 minutes and see if we get any temperature changes. So we just had 30 minutes of the cooling time. Ambient temperature is gone up to 24.4. The actual temperature on the DSLR cooling is gone up to about 5.1. And you can see here, we've maintained the internal temperature to 16 degrees. Okay, so it's held it out. Okay, it's just maintained that temperature, which is good. Okay, that's exactly where we want. So now what we're going to do is we're going to check it again in another half an hour's time, just to final confirm. Okay, I'm happy with the results so far. So this is looking extremely good. And compare the results again. So we're just coming up to 2 hours. Yep, 2 hours bang on. We're at 23.7 degrees ambient. The cooling box is at 3.6, and we take a closer look. Okay, she's 17 degrees, so she's slightly warmed up a bit, but that's not bad. That it's obviously because it's getting warmer out here, it's gone up a degree, but I'm really happy with the results so far. It's obviously achieved what I wanted to do. Alright, very happy with the results. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take a 10-minute exposure on these settings, and we're going to take it now and then test the dark frame. So what we're going to do now is taking the exposure, taking a 10-minute exposure and of a dark frame, and we're going to check the noise level now. So now what we're going to do is we're going to allow this the box open out, and we're going to let the camera warm up. Okay, and we're going to test the dark frame now and compare the dark frame with the cool frame, and then see if we get a difference. So now you can see I've put my camera, DSLR cooling box and telescope indoors. We've allowed the camera sensor to warm up, and as you can just see, it's warmed up to 33 degrees. I can now test out a dark frame, okay, and then compare the results from an uncooled dark frame versus a cooled dark frame, and see if we can tell the difference. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a 10-minute dark frame using the same settings, alright, and that's what we're going to do now. So I'm going to take that shot and we're going to wait 10 minutes. So, hi everyone. Okay, I've got my telescope set up, my Alto Astro 66mm and my smart EQ mount all set up, polar aligned. And now what I'm going to do, these are not ideal conditions. Okay, the moon's up for starters, full moon, which is the super moon at the moment on the 4th of November. And as you can see, fireworks are going off everywhere in the night sky. So again, not ideal conditions. So at the moment, I've got my DSLR cooling box, I've got my camera already set up, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch on the cooling. I'm already focused, my mount's already tracking, so I'm going to wait a few minutes to the cooling to cool down the camera, so I wait for Pleiades star cluster to come into view. Okay, not ideal conditions to image when the moon's up for deep sky objects. So I thought I'd start on something very bright and testing the cooling box, checking for vibrations on the cooling box itself. This mount is at the maximum limit. Okay, this is not ideal to image any astronomy rig, particularly with this kind of weight. So what we're going to do is we're going to switch on the cooling. Okay, and as you can see there, we're already 0.34 degrees, so quite cold outside, and I've only just started the cooling. So now what we're going to do, we're going to wait till half an hour and see how cold we get before we start imaging Pleiades star cluster. At the moment, it takes a while for the cooling to kick in. Now as you can see there, is at 3.3 degrees and now it's starting to drop. So quite effective. As we look in, the fans are going. Yep, it's dropping nicely. So it's dropping around about 0.1 every 10 seconds there, 10-20 seconds. So that's pretty good. We're already at 3 degrees. So just shows you how effective using a bit of external power supply down there, speed up the cooling, getting that temperature down, cooling that sensor as much as possible. Lower the noise levels, better the images are going to be. Alright, so that's why we use this modification to help cool down this DSLR camera. So we'll come back in half an hour and then we'll look at how much it's gone down. We can see how much it's dropped, see how the temperature has dropped. So 30 minutes has passed and we're going to check the cooling, and we're at minus 3.7 degrees below ambient temperature. Well, it's around about 4 degrees up here, so this is pretty good for not bad cooling within half an hour. We've got the camera set up. So we've got the camera set up now, and as you can see now we're at, the screen's just slightly misted. But it's not to worry, we're in Pleiades and we're going to take our shot now. The frosting you can see is just a little bit prominent on each side. I might need to do a bit more, I need to do a bit more of the silicone, I think, because I've got a bit of frosting, I've got a bit of leakage there. As you can see, there's a leakage. So I need to sort that one out. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take our exposures with the cooling on, okay, and these are not ideal conditions because the moon's up there as you can see there. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take a shot, take a few astro photos of Pleiades and see what we get. And now what we're going to do is we're going to take our long exposure at ISO 100, I'm afraid, because the moon's up, and we're going to do it at a set exposure of 30 seconds. Okay, so that just gives us enough to see any vibrations within the images. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take the exposures now, and we're going to look at the images. I will take some dark frames, and then we're going to compare our stacked image and see if we get any vibrations in the images. So we're coming to 30 seconds, and that's our image. Wow, that's quite impressive. It's worked. So that's that. Well, I can see in the image there's hardly any tracking errors, which means there's hardly any vibrations within the DSLR cooling box. I'm really satisfied with the results already. Fantastic. So it has helped, but the only way we can tell from the pictures is when we check on the laptop and then check again, looking at our results and see if any of our images have improved. But so far 30 seconds, that's pretty good going. That really impressed with that. So what we're going to do is take a few shots of them at that setting. We may increase it to 1 minute, and then we'll check the images on a computer to just to double confirm the results. So far the cooling has maintained, it's dropped down to 4 degrees. So it's helping to keep those temperatures down on the sensor, and which is good to see. Alright, there's a bit of dewing around the edge, but it doesn't appear to be frosting the photo reducer. So the seal at the bottom has done a good job of controlling the moisture from getting in onto the photo reducer. We don't want to get any moisture because it will ruin the images. So far this is looking pretty good. Alright, and it's just taking the other shot. So now what we're going to do is we're going to wait on, and then I'll check my results on the computer just to double confirm what we've got. So there you have it. As you can see, I've tested it out outdoors. I've shown a few images from this DSLR cooling box, and I must admit, would I recommend undertaking this project? Yes, I would. And again, if you like watching my videos, again, all the links are below for parts 1 and 2 to undertake this fantastic project. Again, please feel free to order the parts online to do your improvements on your DSLR cooling box. And as you can see, with those images I've taken absolutely fantastic results. If you like watching my videos, please hit the like button. Alright, please hit the like button. I want to smash those likes there. With your strong support to astronomy for beginners, again, please hit the like button and please support us. Again, we're also available for Facebook group. Please join that group. Alright, we've got a lot of good experienced astrophotographers, and we've got good visual observers, alright, on that group now. Alright, so again, anything regarding with astronomy, and if you're first starting out and you want to get into astronomy, please join that Facebook group without a doubt. Again, if you like watching my videos, please subscribe onto my channel. Again, hit the subscribe button and activate your notifications tab. Alright, so again, please subscribe onto my channel. So again, thanks for watching, and clear skies to you all.